Today I'm going to be in conversation with Vinod Khosla, the founder at Khosla Ventures, who is one of the most influential people in AI. He's a prominent figure in Silicon Valley and a prolific venture capitalist. He will be talking about his outlook for predictions for AI, some of the big concerns that we have, how societal change is going to be driven by entrepreneurs, and lots more. Thank you so much for taking time out and being with us on ET Now. So I want to just talk about your first prediction for India, because you have spoken about a future where every citizen in India has 24/7 access to a primary care physician as part of the government provided digital service. How far are we from that, and how are you looking at India's healthcare system in light of all the technological innovations made?
Look, it may feel unbelievable, but it depends on the government wanting to do it. I think it's doable in the next 5 years, for sure, where every citizen can have very broad primary care for free, for near free. There's computing costs, but that's the only cost. Of course, if you order a blood test, then there's testing costs. But essentially, the expertise of the doctor can be free and unlimited supply. So every citizen can have that, and every woman can have women's health, every child can have pediatric health, every citizen can get free mental health care. All that is possible if we drive to that. And frankly, it's possible to put it in place the next 5 years. And if we do 5 years of physician supervision of AI decisions, which is the way it should be done, to make sure we don't let AI loose when it's not perfectly mature. So that's very, very possible. So the government has to decide to do it. I think the technologies that they are today and can be tested in the next year or two and implemented in 5 years, very much as part of the Aadhaar system. In fact, at this point, Aadhaar and identity is harder to implement than the AI primary care physician. I'd say the same for AI tutors. Every child can have a free tutor in their own regional language, driven by an AI who will pay more attention than a human tutor would, even if you could afford one.
Sure, and given that, Mr. Khosla, you're an early backer of OpenAI, what prompted this investment, and what is the future, according to you, for OpenAI?
Well, for the last 10 years, I've been very, very convinced the age of AI is coming. It is hard in these things to predict when it will happen. It was 2018 when I decided to make an investment in OpenAI, which, by the way, was the largest initial investment we've ever made in our venture capital history, or my venture capital history, by a factor of 2. So very large for venture capital investment, because I so believe that at some point in the future, this would happen. And it happened in 2022 when ChatGPT was released. I think we'll see a very, very exciting future here in the next immediate future as the next release of GPT-4 comes out. I think without announcing dates, it's very exciting what the capability will be. And I would imagine in most areas of expertise, it'll operate like a PhD would, in terms of a good PhD, not the very best, but probably better than the median PhD in how it performs in any area of realization, whether it's a physician or a structural engineer or a mental health therapist. Now, none of this is out of the box, so it has to be tuned to that application. But a lot of the expertise will be there, which is the hard part, which is what's not scalable in a country like India. You don't have enough physicians to provide services to everybody. So we have to make sure the ones we do have provide supervision over the AI as we introduce it over the next 5 years, and make sure it works really, really well. But we will scale the physicians we have dramatically by 5x or 10x and provide much better care. That's also much cheaper and much higher quality at the same time.
Right, that does sound very promising. And I wanted to get your thoughts on any Indian entrepreneurs, anyone that you track or that you've read about that you believe stands out, has run their business well, or what's your view on entrepreneurship and the unicorns that we've built in the country?
Well, there are lots of such examples in India, of course. There's many unicorns and successful entrepreneurs. We also have a thesis that every government, every country will want some parts of AI to be their own, not under the control of other corporations. And so we have an effort in India called Sarban. Some of the people involved in building the Aadhaar system now building an AI for India, for India's regional languages. There's 13 scripts with not enough data, very complex to do in India. Now, of course, India is the super cost-sensitive company, so their goal is to get to 1 cent per minute, or less than a rupee a minute. Kinds of price points, because affordability is a critical issue in India. I think that's going to happen. So that's one example of an Indian company in India run by Indians doing state-of-the-art AI. There's many Indians involved in AI, of course, here. If you look at Time Magazine just issued a AI 100 list. In the number of Indians on it is very, very large. I'm very excited about one we are doing here in the US. A person called Jagdeep Singh doing a company called Rhoda that is building bipedal robots, because I believe that will be another big area. So many Indians involved. I'm very proud of that and excited to see how much they're participating in this AI revolution on the technical side.
And do you have any thoughts on maybe startup valuations here, how we stack up versus the rest of the globe when it comes to companies in India?
One, I should caution, I live in the US and I'm not overly familiar with the Indian startup system. I see it from a distance and it looks pretty exciting. I find the investors in India are somewhat more conservative than the investors here. Here we will take much larger technical risks and much larger jumps in technology. And build things prospectively. Indian investors in the venture business, especially now, tend to be a little conservative. But it's a flourishing ecosystem and it's growing. So I do think 10 years from now, we'll get past that and we'll do more deeply technical startups, which is what is needed for India's progress.
So do you think then that AI needs to be regulated? What would you say is one of the biggest concerns when it comes to AI?
Well, some people were worried that AI will become dominant in what's called sentient AI, or it'll start trying to be the dominant species on Earth and kill all the humans. I don't buy that. These people are reading too much science fiction. I do think the biggest there are dangers with AI, and AI should be regulated, but at the right time, once we understand what it is and what's emerging. My view, the biggest danger in AI, and it's a common danger in the US and in India, is strong, powerful AI in the hands of China. And that won't be regulated, and it'll be an offensive weapon. And to keep in mind, when I say an offensive weapon, it can be a weapon of war, but equally important, it can be an algorithm in TikTok that messes people's minds and spreads bad ideas. So it can be algorithmic like TikTok, or it can be and go after controlling people's brain, or go after warfare scenarios. So I do think AI can be used by bad nation states to do bad things, and we should be very, very cautious. And that is the biggest danger. In fact, it's such a big danger. If we start slowing down our AI development in India or in the West here with regulation, and China gets ahead, that's a disaster scenario in my view.
And what about your views on, how big an issue carbon emission is going to be over the next 10, 20 years?
Well, carbon and climate is a big issue, but I think we are making good progress, especially on the power generation side. We're working a lot in other areas like green cement or green steel. So lots of different areas. But I think those are still, those will take a while to roll out. Am I concerned about the power consumption of AI? I am somewhat, but not my biggest concern, because I think there's solutions for that.
Okay, fair enough. So what exactly is the future when it comes to entrepreneurship in India?
Well, I do believe that most large societal change is driven by entrepreneurs. It's not driven by large companies. There isn't a single large company doing anything innovative in energy. It's startups like Commonwealth Fusion Systems, or geothermal is another technology in India where you get heat out of the ground and use it to generate power instead of burning coal and natural gas. So that's being driven by entrepreneurs. If you look at space, like SpaceX and Rocket Lab, and there's a couple of startups in India in space launches, it's not large governments that are innovating. Traditional retailing didn't innovate retailing. It was people like Amazon and Flipkart. So every area I look, Uber and Ola, in how taxis are viewed differently. Public transit is being innovated by startups, not by large public transit companies. So almost all areas, the innovation is coming from startup entrepreneurs. I think that'll continue to be the case for a long time.
And Mr. Khosla, before we let you go, what would be your message to young entrepreneurs with big dreams in their eyes?
My message is very simple. It's a wonderful life. It's a hard life. You work 80 hours a week. There's lots of ups and downs. There's great days, and then there's really depressing days when you're running out of money. And so it is hard, but in the end, you achieve more. So if achieving more is your purpose, it's great. If instead you'd rather go play cricket, go do it. Or if you'd rather go produce music, that's fine too. Just make choices. I do think entrepreneurship is a great lifestyle.
Absolutely. And on that very positive note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so very much for taking time out and joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.